there's more than meets the eye there than what you see. It looks like a little subtle swale. It's a lot more than a subtle swale. And so maybe we can find one of the pictures on that drone shot that shows the side profile of the hugelkultur over there. That one's real good for showing you the depth of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about with crenulation. So so remember we were talking about surface area of the log, the actual cellular structure of the log. Each and individual little cell creates a lot of surface area. Well, in the same way, we want a lot of surface area in the earthworks. See how like vertical and deep. You got this pitch, and so you can see here. See all the shadows and hot spots and dry spots, and that's what you want. You want to get, and that's why the paths are serpentining, because it's creating little pockets. And biology is going to fill the niche in the elements. So those pocket niche in the elements is going to get filled by biodiversity. So basically, when you're crenulating, there's the XY axis, the flat plane axis like this, and then there's vertical. And so this terrace wall right here it goes down as deep as you can go. It's called the angle of repose. That's the angle that the dirt is stacking on. You know, when you pile sand, the sand can only stay so steep and it just starts sloughing. That's the angle of repose. So pretty much these terrace walls, in the same way that it's steep on this side, if you can imagine over where those stepping stones are going across, it's the same going deep that other way and then back up to the other one. So these are like pyramids. They're as deep as you can get. So see, we're getting Z-axis crenulation. See what I mean? You're not just crenulating in the X, Y, it's also in the Z. Yep, you want to get as much Z. This is chinampa. So this is basically, it's a floating grow bed. These two grow beds are in the pond. So when the pond is full, it'll be halfway up the water line. The water line will be halfway up the grow bed. So what'll happen is it'll come up and it'll soak the chinampa, but it's not going to swamp the garden. So, and these things literally float. they float away. They've floated away on me before. And so now what we're doing is if you want to come take a closer look at it. Chinampa.
Hi. Come on. Come on.
That's actually holding these logs down. So, and I hadn't done that in the past, and I learned because I came back a few weeks later and my chinampas floated away on the job that I did. I'm like, oh damn it. So, and see, here's the soil over the top of the biomass.
Yeah.
So you only need a couple inches, 2, 3, 4 inches to make a seed bed, and you're good to go. So let's walk up on top of it.
Come on. Come on.
I don't know. Can you feel that kind of bounce?
Yeah. See it all around.
Yeah. It'll be and it'll become even more of a big bouncy sponge. When we seed this, we're going to seed it with a mix that has over 400 species in it.
So these logs run all the way over?
Yep. And then we put wood chips on top of that. Now underneath these, you'll see, if you go onto Facebook and see some of the albums from this project, you'll see that there's actually a bunch of pallets underneath this.
Pallets?
Pallets, yeah, just wood. And it's just what was available, you know. And some people on Facebook asked about the nails and stuff, and were we concerned? No, because we're not tilling this. We're not going to extract and get down and dig it up. Basically, those pallets will never be seen again. So now the nails are just going to rust, and it's just iron in the ground. So no big deal. Not worried about it in the least. We keep this kind of stuff. See these sticking out?
Yeah.
Those are just bird perches.
Yeah, just,
you know, because this is going to be a little duck pond. So, and it's just more edge, you know, more diversity, just being creative with it. So, if you want to come up here and take a look at this, the paths are going to be seeded with a path mix. And the path mix that I'm using right now it's dichondra, microclover, creeping thyme, oregano, and Irish moss. So that's just the top. The banks and the hugelkulturs and chinampas are seeded with basically like a Sepp Holzer style seed mix, 400 species. So it's every kind of vegetable and fruit you can think of, basically, mostly vegetables and herbs. But it's like, I mean, there's like 10 different varieties of corn, there's 15 different varieties of carrots, there's kales, cabbages, leafy greens, lettuces. I made the mix.
oh, you made them?
Yeah. I've got thousands and thousands of dollars in seed.
Oh, wow.
So little packets at a time. If I find something I haven't seen before, or if I'm out in nature and I see an amazing plant that I like, I've got everything from wetland grasses to cacti seed, and I mean, there's everything in this mix. And because the idea is that I don't want to try to manipulate what wants to grow where.
Sure.
Because like the banks, this is strictly mineral right here. This is just dirt, earth. Whereas that's hugelkultur. And you'll see different things will thrive on these banks than will thrive down in the hugelkultur. Because that's going to be very deep humus. It's going to take a few years. It'll take about 5 years for these to really break down. But when they do, it's going to be 6 feet. You can take a post hole digger and just go down in, deep. And mine are like that up in Rockville right now. I can just go and just plunge a post hole digger and just pull out potting soil all over the place. So these will become very, very, very fertile. But in that seed mix, there's so much diversity in the mix that the idea is to let it self-select into the substructure. So we create opportunity in the substructure and let the diversity just find its little nook. Hopefully we created an opportunity for everything to have a happy place. Yeah. So in the beginning, you're going to get everything germinates everywhere. But then it'll start to die off, and as the succession rolls on, year after year after year, you'll see that there'll be bands of lettuce that take off along like a north, like see this shady edge here? Yeah. So there'll be a big patch of lettuce right there. And then you'll see different types of varieties take off over here, carrots and maybe some kale likes it over there or whatever. And so you're not trying to control and manipulate what grows where.
It finds its
let it let it self-select into the substructure which you've primed up. So that's the basic approach there.
So what's all mixed into this?
Yeah, we can get down on here and check it out. So I don't know if you can feel that bouncing when it should feel pretty bouncy. See how hard that clay is already getting?
Yeah.
And we just put this down, and that's why we're doing the hugelkultur, because of the compaction. We were trying to avoid compaction because we're not going to till. This was because the people were walking on it. There was a lot of people. But see how far we go when we hit wood chip?
Yeah.
See, there's only about 4 inches there. But this is a pretty clay soil. But what will happen is that when the soil biology starts to take off in this underlayer here, it'll come up and start to grab this mineral and pull it down in and mix it. And so that's why we don't have to till. It's just going to get tilled by the soil biology basically. But this will all break down into just basically potting soil. But now as it breaks down, it will settle. But that gives us somewhere to chop and drop.
Good.
So you're just going to be taking the canopy and just layering it into these terraces and onto these chinampas. As these chinampas settle, we just keep adding and adding and adding. So what I do is I'll just pick an area that will be like our next chop and drop, and you rotate. So like this little inner terrace here, that might be our chop and drop for a period over 3 months, 6 months or whatever. Once we've layered it in just the way we want, top it over with some soil, which is your compost mix that you're making. That's perfect. That creates the seed bed over the top, and then you reseed and do your succession seeding, and then you chop and drop into that terrace. So you just keep rotating. So that's one thing that's cool about these terraces. It gives you somewhere to go with the biomass that you're getting from your canopy, and you just kind of rotate that through. So. To give you a little background on why I like to use logs and this sort of things, like these bridges and stuff. It's basically staying in harmony with the nurse log principle. I don't know if you've ever heard of the nurse log. In a forest, when a log falls over and you got this dead log laying there, it's sometimes referred to as a nurse log because it's going to nurse the succession of the forest. So all the little animals and creatures and soil biology, and there's just that log itself is just going to, wildlife is just going to come emerging out of the log basically in the form of bugs and fungi and bacteria and you name it. It's all just that log is going to just unfold into life basically. So
give back to Mother Earth.
So it's a great architectural element. So we have all these little nurse logs, like these stepping stones. They're going to feed mycorrhizae fungi into the ground and just be a source for life over a period of time. So I'll use whatever I got, whether it's rocks and boulders and all kinds of stuff, but I'm not afraid to use wood. Like some people think, well, it's just going to break down. What do you have, 5 years, 10 years, and it's broken down and it's garbage.
Yeah, but that's what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And then you're chopping and dropping your food forest, right? So you're always chopping and dropping the nurse log type arrangements into the system. So it's no big deal. It works out.